Live from the NHTV studios in North Haven, Connecticut, this is the Open Mic TV show. I'm your host, Michael CUOMO. Welcome along on this Wednesday night, September the 11th, 2013. Glad to have you aboard tonight, ladies and gentlemen, and it is the 12th anniversary, believe it or not, of 9/11. It is already here, 12 years. Incredible to really picture that so much time has gone by. I will touch up on that in a second. I just want to quickly remind you that, as promised, my special guest will be joining me here tonight, Mrs. KRISTEN Link. She is the event manager at the American Liver Foundation, and she will be joining me for the second half of the show. She is currently en route to the NHTV studios via the Open Mic limousine, which is picking her up. So KRISTEN will be here joining me at the bottom of the hour, right around 8:30 when we take our commercial break. So if anyone out there has any questions, comments, regarding the American Liver Foundation, regarding some events that they have, some statistics, maybe you lost a loved one to liver disease, or you just have some, general questions about the American Liver Foundation, you can certainly call us at 203-234-0025. And again, we'll be having KRISTEN on for the second half of the show to talk about some upcoming events and just some history about the American Liver Foundation. So very excited to have her on coming up shortly. Real quick, if Nick can put up the Facebook and YouTube page. There we go. Thank you. YouTube.com/OpenMic80 to see all of the replays of the TV show. You can go on there. And then Facebook.com/OpenMicTV. If you can go on there and click like to become a fan of the Open Mic Show, that would be greatly appreciated, and I can keep you up to date with any guests, late breaking news, etc. via the Facebook page. The number is on the top of your screen, the top right, 203-234-0025. You can call in basically, especially the first half of the show with anything on your mind, sports related, 9/11 related. If you happen to be at the North Haven Fair last week, which I was a part of with the NHTV booth, you can certainly call in and talk about your experience with the fair. But first and foremost, let's quickly touch up on the more important issue at hand, and that is the 12-year anniversary of the September 11th attacks. And I can't believe, like I said earlier, it's already been 12 years. It certainly will be a day we'll never forget. It's one of those days that people will always remember where they were, what they were doing, where they were, if they were working, on vacation, if they were home. Once they heard about what happened and they started getting the news coming through, via television and the radio. I remember where I was at the time. I think the first plane hit around 8:40 in the morning, and the second one was shortly after at like 9:03. I think, somewhere around that. I don't remember the exact time, nor do I remember the exact amount of casualties. I know it was well over 3,000 between the three places that the, terrorists hit: the Pentagon in Washington, D.C., Flight 93 out in Pennsylvania, and then obviously the Twin Towers in downtown Manhattan. So I think it was 3,100 and some odd casualties that we endured, and obviously that started the war in Afghanistan and Iraq, which we're still fighting currently and slowly but surely exiting from there. And just a lot of stuff going on today. Obviously today was a lot of memorials throughout the state of Connecticut. I don't know how many people from Connecticut were actually passed away in 9/11. I know a lot of people in Fairfield County working in the city were affected by it. But if anyone out there wants to call in, just curious if you remember where you were when the news came out about 9/11. Certainly would love to hear from you. 203-234-0025 and call in. and tell us where you were and just maybe what you were thinking about at the time. A lot of people I remember were obviously in shock, thinking it was an accident, a plane, possibly hit the towers of a, small little Cessna that just, flew into it by accident or whatever. But then once the second plane hit and we were getting word of the Pentagon being hit, and you just knew something more elaborate was being unraveled before our eyes. So, yeah, so it's already been 12 years. Time does fly by. God, I wish, going back 12 years ago, I was a very young 21-year-old. Now I'm a very old 33-year-old. So it's amazing how quickly time goes by. Just to touch up on some, more national news that I want to talk about, and then we'll do some sports, we'll do some local news. Again, if anyone out there was at the North Haven Fair last week, which took place last Thursday through Sunday, it's already been a week that it started roughly. It's amazing how quickly time flies, as I was just alluding to with 9/11. If you were at the North Haven Fair and you want to call in and tell me about it and your experience with it, I certainly enjoyed it. It seemed the weather last week, right before the fair, was a little warm and muggy like it was today, and then boom, as soon as Thursday hit, the weather just got very nice and cool and fall-like and somewhat chilly in the air, which I love that weather. And I, checked out the fair, I think it was Thursday or Friday night, walking around. And then Saturday night, I was at the NHTV booth, which was stationed up or set up at the fairgrounds. They were serving clam chowder, corn chowder, meatballs on a stick, pretzels, all sorts of beverages and pie, pumpkin pie, apple pie. I mean, it was really cool. I was there helping out to serve some of the tables there, serve the people as they were coming in. And I know Walter Mann and the staff that he had set up there was very professional as always, and I know that he did very well, and NHTV did well as a whole with the proceeds from everything. So certainly was a lot of work. I was there just for about 4 hours Saturday night, and I can certainly see how much prep work and what goes into especially in that sort of food business. There's certainly a lot of work involved. So my hats off to Walter Mann and the staff, all the volunteers that he had, throughout the whole duration of the fair, because I'm sure it was a hit. A lot of people were enjoying the clam chowder. As I was there witnessing it, it seemed that the clam chowder was outselling the corn chowder probably like 5-1. Just something about clam chowder on a fall, chilly evening. People really took a liking to it. So hopefully everyone enjoyed it. Hopefully if you went out to the fair, you enjoyed your time there. And it was weird because Saturday when I was there, it actually started sprinkling. It was like a light rain that started taking over the fair around 8-9 o'clock. And it kind of made a lot of people just kind of spread out. Some left, some took cover, and then it, dissipated as the night went on. I don't think it was, supposed to rain that night, but again, it did, and it kind of threw everyone off for a loop for a little bit. But we all rebounded, and it was a great night. I was able to see Rosie's Racing Pigs, which I was talking about here a couple weeks ago on the show. That's always a great time, and I saw the racing ducks that he had. So that was pretty cool, and it certainly was crowded. I mean, parking was tough, and the parking lots were full, and they had the cops out there directing traffic as they do each and every year. So hopefully Martha Vincent and everyone at the board at the North Haven Fair did very well this year, and hopefully they surpassed their prior couple years at the fairground. So. I'm gonna talk about some news now, some national news that's going on. And again, if anybody wants to call in, you can talk about sports. NFL is up and running. I'll certainly talk about tomorrow night's game, Patriots Jets. I will talk about this past weekend and some of the games that took place in this upcoming weekend. So I have a lot to get to in just a short amount of time because, like I said, KRISTEN Link, my special guest, will be on at 8:30. So I'm only going to do half a show really with news and information and sports, and then the second half will be directed towards KRISTEN and the American Liver Foundation. So I just want to quickly touch up on some national news besides the 9/11 anniversary. There's a big story going on the internet, on the news channels, that was very cool, a very good feeling type of story involving a homeless man who was obviously begging for money, looking for donations, in his basket or whatever he had, and a woman who went to go put some money into his little basket or can or whatever he was using. I guess her $4,000 engagement ring slipped off her finger and fell into the can or canister that he was collecting money with, not realizing it at the time. And then what happened was, somehow she obviously at a later point realized she lost her ring, went back to the guy and asked him if he found it, and he was honest enough to say, yes, I did find your ring, here it is, gave it back to her. And she was so overwhelmed with joy and excitement that he had the ring, was honest about it, that she started an online petition to basically raise money for this guy who was homeless and obviously fell in some hard times. And it was an overwhelming response of people's support and gratitude towards this individual. I forgot the guy's name, but you can tell he's a very nice guy just from hearing him speak, very genuine. So anyway, by returning a $4,000 ring back to its owner, he ended up receiving from online donations over $191,000 as of the last count that we had. So that is a very good story. $191,000. He actually bought a car. He was able to put a deposit down on a house. And as he said, it's such a great feeling to actually be able to go into a building that's your home and sleep into a place of your own rather than on the streets. So this money obviously changed his life, $191,000. And it was just a great story. His little generosity obviously multiplied, tenfold, if not more. And it was just a great story that, you hear about these stories once in a while, people finding things, they returning them, to their owners. But again, I've never heard of a story where, people through online donations have now come up with $191,000, throughout the world, just giving and supporting this guy. So that's a great story. A not so great story has to do with the concession speech or the concession events of Anthony Weiner in the New York City mayoral race. And basically, I will tell you what happened yesterday during his concession speech. You won't believe it, but we will get to our first caller of the night. And good evening, caller. You're live on the Open Mic Show.
Yes, good evening, Michael. How are you tonight?
Hey, good evening, Mr. McCarver. How are you?
Very well, very well.
What's going on?
I remember distinctly where I was 12 years ago.
Yeah?
September 11th, 2001. And very quickly, I was working for the phone company at the time, and we were at 611, which is the call-in for landline repairs back 12 years ago. Not too many people had cell phones. Everybody had landlines.
Yeah.
They were calling in. And I remember a gentleman came in the room and said he had heard that a plane had hit the Trade Center. And at the time, as you mentioned earlier, we thought, it was a small Cessna plane, maybe one of these weather pilots had a malfunction, and it was just a minor hit. So, nobody thought anything about it. He just, he just said that's what happened. And then I remember I got a call from within the building I was working to come into another room, and this other room had a TV. And then I was there when I saw the second plane hit.
Yeah.
And it was like, I remember all the calls just stopped. And I have to give the management staff at the phone company brought out a couple of TVs. All the calls stopped because I think the whole nation just kind of held its breath. And they brought out the TVs, and we just watched. And what was unfolding in front of us was just, was just horrible, and no more calls came in, but it was just a scary day.
Now, did you know anyone personally that was involved in 9/11, or?
I did not, but one of my supervisors had a cousin that was in one of the towers, and at that time, all the cell service they couldn't get a hold of him, and I guess as the story goes, he was killed in the explosion, and I think, not to be morbid, they had the service for him, and then actually found the body in the rubble like 3 or 4 weeks after the service.
Yeah.
So I didn't know anybody per se one-on-one, but friends of friends had it.
Right.
And one thing I wanted to mention, I wanted to give kudos to MSNBC, who, and I think they do this every year, but this morning from 8:30 up until noon, they actually replayed the broadcast that morning. So you could watch the story unfold with the original reporters. I think Katie Couric was there, and a very young Tom Brokaw was there, and
Matt Lauer.
Yeah. Just to see the story unfold as it happened was very, very interesting. So
I think
like they say, never forget, and I don't think we ever will.
No. I remember.
Michael, I did have a question for you.
Go ahead, sure.
About the allotment of calls. Now, if I had a question for your guest later on in the hour, do I have permission to call back in if I should have a question? Or?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, all right. Okay.
Yeah, no, absolutely. She'll be joining me shortly. As I said, the open mic limo was a little late in picking her up.
Yes, I heard. So it's well, that's understandable.
But
I guess.
I did get word that the limo just pulled into the parking lot, so she will be here shortly.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very good. So, all right, but that's where I was. And you're right. I was a very young 51-year-old back then, so time does fly.
Yeah, it does. Well, yeah. Thanks for calling in, and certainly calling later on if you have any questions.
All right, and don't forget to root for the Jets tomorrow night. So.
I will root for the Jets because they're playing the.
All right, Michael. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thanks, Ed.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye. Yeah, I will talk about the Jets momentarily. We got about 15 minutes before we're going to take our break and then bring KRISTEN on. But real quick, and again, if anyone out there wants to call in, if you remember what you were doing, where you were on the night of 9/11, certainly call in 203-234-0025 to share your story. Just to wrap up this Anthony Weiner story yesterday out of New York, kind of feel bad for the guy after everything going on. I mean, at this point of his life, you just don't know where he's going to end up. But officially, he is out of the mayoral race, lost in the primaries. As he was leaving in his car with his entourage and obviously the media frenzy, he flipped the bird to one of the reporters. Now, that wasn't the more ironic part of the story. The most ironic part was the sexting girl that he was involved with, and I don't remember her name. I think it's Sydney something. She was actually there promoting herself, which she admitted was a way to get her attention through the media, because she's now trying to pursue a career in the porn industry. So she was dressed very skimpy would be a good word, I guess, to describe her. And she was actually there waiting to confront Anthony Weiner and have some sort of, I don't know, what kind of confrontation would you have with him? I mean, I don't know what she was trying to accomplish, but she certainly got the attention she wanted. And unfortunately for Mr. Weiner, as he pulled into the pub or Connolly's pub, whatever place he was having his speech, there was only one entrance in, one entrance out. So he had to have a way to basically go through a McDonald's door that was adjacent to the building and kind of sneak around, the mass of people in order to avoid this lady who was there to obviously caused some commotion. So just a very weird ending to a very weird and distracting campaign for Anthony Weiner. I think we will now kind of not hear about him because he's not going to be in the spotlight anymore unless something obviously happens. But again, it was just kind of a bizarre ending to a very bizarre candidate person who obviously has some issues, anger issues amongst other issues. So we wish him nothing but the best. And real quick, there was another bizarre story coming out in, I think it was out west. I want to say Montana, Wyoming. A newlywed couple who recently just got married. There is now an investigation into the bride who, 22-year-old bride, who is now accused of pushing her husband off of a cliff to his death. And they were only married for just 8 short days, believe it or not. Apparently, she took him out to this place that he always wanted to see before he died, as she told police, and pushed him off to his death. There were some text messages that she sent to one of her girlfriends before all this happened, kind of giving her a heads up that something was going to happen tonight. And if you didn't hear back from me, you know that I did something. So she's basically guilty based on evidence and her own admission. You know, it's just kind of a very bizarre thing where you marry someone only to 8 days later push them off a cliff to their death. Apparently she's never heard of the word divorce, or maybe, you know, cold feet and let's not do this. But apparently, you know, I just feel bad. You know, the guy's dead. Now she's going to probably be in jail the rest of her life. Nothing good came out of this story, but it's kind of unsettling because I'm getting married in like 39 days and we're going to be out in Europe, but I don't think I'll be around any cliffs as far as I know, but I will certainly keep my eyes open. You know, not that I don't trust her, but I'm just, you know, just saying. Okay, I think that's all I have for national news. You know, we have about 10 more minutes before we're going to take a break and bring KRISTEN on to talk about her involvement with the American Liver Foundation, some upcoming events, fundraisers, some statistics which are pretty mind boggling. You know, some of the statistics on liver disease and you know, people waiting for transplants and whatnot. So some interesting numbers that we'll talk about with KRISTEN in a little bit. Again, if anyone out there wants to quickly call in these next 10 minutes about, you know, where you were on the night of 9/11 or on the morning of 9/11, excuse me. If you remember where you were when the news came out and you want to, you know, call in just to kind of talk about your memory of it, you certainly can, 203-234-0025. And if you also want to talk about the North Haven Fair last week, if you were in attendance and you want to talk about your experience there, hopefully good, but even if it was bad, you can certainly call in and share your story and tell us, you know, maybe you stopped by the NHTV booth and had some clam chowder, as it seemed like hundreds of people did. Especially the night I was there. It was very, very busy, but it was great. A lot of, you know, different, all different age groups, young to old, were there, you know, just getting food, enjoying the night. I know there was some country star that I don't remember the name. I'm not a big country fan, but I know there was a country star who was at the main stage. I could hear him in the background singing. But I don't remember, but maybe, you know, if you're a country music fan and you were there and you remember who it was, and, you know, maybe you can give us a little feedback as to how well he performed, because I wouldn't, you know him from Adam. So, all right, real quick, I want to get to some sports. I have to get to my NFL pick, as I do each and every week. Not to brag, ladies and gentlemen, but last week, if you recall, I did take, as my week 1 pick, I did take the Kansas City Chiefs as just a 3-point favorite against the Jacksonville Jaguars. It was one of those games that was just so easy to predict. And here it is. The proof is in the pudding. They won 28-2 was the final score. So I am 1-0 on the season, and I will get to this week's pick right after this next caller. And good evening, caller. You're live on the Open Mic Show.
Good evening, Michael. How are you?
Good. Mr. Dacey, how are you?
Fine, thanks.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
All right, good. I thought we had a little background noise with our wiring here, but that's good that you can hear me. What's going on?
Nothing. I just wanted to touch base with you this evening. In regards to 9/11, I can remember exactly where I was that morning. I actually received a phone call. I got woken up. I was still sleeping. One of my friends woke me up and said, "Are you watching TV?" And I said, "No, why? What's up?"
Right.
And she told me, and I said, "You got to be kidding me." I turned on the TV, and I could not believe what I saw.
Yeah. Yeah, and as Ed was talking about earlier, where MSNBC was showing the replay of last year's broadcast, it's kind of, to look at it now after the fact and see what they were trying to determine was happening is kind of surreal because they didn't know, was it a terrorist attack? Was it just an accident? But then as the hours went on and you heard about the Pentagon and then the Flight 93 out in Pennsylvania, and they started putting it together that this is, it's now confirmed a terrorist attack, you can just sense how depleted, even the reporters felt.
Yes, it was devastating. I remember after that being glued to the TV nonstop all day.
Yeah. Yeah, I really, if there's anything you can, really enjoy out of that whole, debacle, the thing that really stuck out in my mind was when, President Bush at the time was at the site of Ground Zero. I think it was the next day or 2 days later. And the firemen and people were saying, can you hear us? And he said, "Oh, I can hear you. And whoever did this will hear us." And then he got the astounding, USA chant. That was very touching for me just to see how energized the...
yes, I do recall that.
Yeah, you remember that? That was very touching, how energized the firemen and police and people were, feeling after the USA chants, after George Bush declared, whoever did this is going to hear us. So, but... yeah, and how was the, I haven't spoken to you about the North Haven Fair, but how was your interviews last weekend?
As you know, Eddie McCarver and myself were out there on Saturday taping, and we had an excellent day.
Good.
As you mentioned earlier, you saw Rosie's Racing Pigs. Ed actually did an interview with Roger.
Oh, okay.
You'll be seeing on the upcoming episode of Talking with Tom.
Cool.
And then on Sunday, I went back with John Zimmerman from the Squared Circle, and we videotaped the Northeast Wrestling card.
Great.
You'll be seeing highlights of that coming up on the Squared Circle as well. And to answer you were mentioning that country singer.
Yeah.
His name was Tyler Farr. Okay. I actually was in attendance Saturday afternoon to see him. His current single is out on Country 92.5 now, Redneck Crazy.
Oh.
But he put on a tremendous show. I know he did 2 shows on Saturday. He had one at 4 and one at 8. That's probably the one you heard, because you said you were there Saturday evening. Yeah,
exactly. Well, I don't know if the word heard is appropriate. I think that was the one I was trying to tune out. But that's just me. I mean, I know a lot of people love country. I'm just not one of them.
But
my last name is Cuomo. How can I like country,
Sorry I missed you in attendance, Mr. Cuomo.
Yeah, well, Tom, it was tough to get the open mic limo in that tight parking area. I'm sure we missed each other by mere moments, but, we'll have to certainly cross paths next year.
See, my personal limo dropped me off and came back.
Oh, okay. Mine just dropped me off. I had to walk home. Well, Tommy, I'm going to just get to my NFL pick, and then we're going to take a break and bring Kristen on. So,
and may the Jets lose tomorrow night.
All right, there you go. All right, Tommy. Yeah, and if you have any questions for Kristen regarding the American Liver Foundation, you can certainly call in later on.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Cuomo.
All right, Tommy, take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Okay, we are just about getting ready to the halfway point. I want to just quickly give you the pick. Again, last week I took Kansas City against Jacksonville, 1-0 in the season. This week's pick, I'm not really supposed to go, or most people aren't supposed to go with your own team when you're betting or picking or suicide pools. But again, after looking at all the games and seeing the disrespect that Vegas and the odds makers are giving my beloved Buffalo Bills, I am forced to have to go and pick them. So the Buffalo Bills will be my Week 2 pick. They are actually getting 3 points. So they're 3-point favorites, or underdogs, I apologize. 3-point underdogs at home against the Carolina Panthers. So it's another one of these no-brainer, games that Vegas doesn't have right, just like they didn't have last week with Kansas City, only giving 3 to Jacksonville. So this week I am going to take the Buffalo Bills plus 3 points at home against Carolina as my Week 2 pick. So write it down. Next week I will hopefully be on here saying I'm 2-0. And real quick, all you boxing fans out there, some not real sad news because he's still with us, but just some troubling news. Boxing legend Oscar De La Hoya is in treatment for some unknown substance abuse or addiction problem that he's having. In the past, he was in treatment for addiction to alcohol and cocaine, apparently. And he's gone on record to say when he was on cocaine, instead of being known as Oscar De La Hoya, he was actually known as Oscar De La Haya. Hiya. All right, but anyway, last but not least, Derek Jeter, for all you Yankee fans. I don't know if there's any more Yankee fans out there because they're pretty much looking like they're going to miss the playoffs. Adding insult to the already terrible season you're having, Derek Jeter, your captain, is going to be out for the rest of the season. So there you have it. So now they're saying that Derek Jeter and Mariano Rivera will never play a game together because Mariano's retiring at the end of the year. So there you go. Last but not least, the New York Jets play tomorrow night at the New England Patriots to kick off Week 2 of the NFL. If anyone out there thinks the Jets have a chance against the New England Patriots, you're obviously sniffing whatever Oscar De La Hoya's on, and I will certainly tell you that the New York Jets will not win tomorrow night. I'm sorry to tell you. And with that being said, we are now going to take a quick commercial break, and when I come back, I'm going to be joined here to my left with KRISTEN Link of the American Liver Foundation. So if you have any questions, comments for KRISTEN about the American Liver Foundation, about some upcoming fundraisers, if you know anyone that is suffering from liver disease, friends, family, loved ones, you can certainly call in. And the number 234-0025. Stay tuned. We'll be right back after this message.
We depend on our national forests for clean air, wood for our homes, and drinking water for millions of Americans. But now, our national forests are depending on us. Trees have been devastated by insects, disease, and fires. The Arbor Day Foundation asks for your help in replanting our national forests, because so much depends on what we do today. Visit arborday.org. See what we're doing. See how you can help.
When you're finished with your food or beverage cartons, toss it in the recycling bin. Because every carton is recyclable and can be turned into useful paper products. When the contents are gone, let the carton live on. Recycle your cartons.
Stop. Whether it's on the way to school, at school, or online, bullying has become a non-stop threat to our youth today. Is your child being bullied? The National Runaway Switchboard can help. If you're having a hard time, get online or call to chat now.
Grandpa, look what I got. Let me see.
Oh, Dad, wait till you see the bike we got for Jake.
Hearing loss happens gradually with age, making it easy to ignore. Yet most older Americans aren't getting their hearing tested. Untreated hearing loss can keep your loved ones from enjoying what they cherish most.
Dad, can you hear me?
Don't let that happen. Speak up about hearing loss. You'll be glad you did.
All right, welcome back to the Open Mic TV show. I'm your host, Michael Cuomo, and as promised, ladies and gentlemen, to my left, my special guest tonight is KRISTEN Link, the events manager of the American Liver Foundation. And thank you very much, KRISTEN, for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Taking time out of your busy schedule. So before I start, as I do with all my special guests, present them with an official open mic with Michael Cuomo coffee mug. There you go.
Great. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
So, KRISTEN, thank you for joining me. Just to quickly touch up, you are the event manager of American Liver Foundation, which a lot of people might not know. In the building that the NHTV studios are at, right up the hall, is the American Liver Foundation, and that's your district office for Connecticut?
Our division, yes.
Division,
so the entire Connecticut division is based out of North Haven.
And American Liver Foundation is actually based out of the main headquarters?
In New York City.
New York City, okay. Yep. Now, how long has the American Liver Foundation, and I have a pamphlet here, your brochure you gave me earlier that will talk about some events, but how long has it been in operation since?
The American Liver Foundation has been an actual nonprofit organization since 1976. It was a complete volunteer organization prior to then.
Okay. So 76, so
yeah, and we've been growing ever since. There's divisions all across the country.
Great. Before I get to some questions and statistics, again, if anyone out there has any questions for KRISTEN about the American Liver Foundation, perhaps you've done some of these liver life walks that we're going to talk about momentarily, or you want to share a story of a loved one that has liver disease, it's affected your family or a friend of yours, and you want to just call in and talk about it to kind of get the word out there. Certainly you can do that at 203-234-0025. So KRISTEN, what is, I guess, overall the mission or the purpose of the American Liver Foundation? What do you guys, what's your objective at the end of the day?
Well, the end mission is, of course, to end liver disease. But to do that, our basic mission is to provide educational research. We provide funds for research to the doctors to try and find different treatments and cures for liver disease. We do 4 core educational programs throughout the state of Connecticut to help create awareness about liver disease, as it does not only affect what a lot of people think are alcoholics, but it affects anywhere from babies who are born with liver disease to grandparents. So there's a lot of there's over 100 types of liver disease. So our mission is to create awareness around the country, and specifically for us, the state of Connecticut, on the importance of liver health and keeping your liver healthy. We also provide patient and support services.
In your role as events manager, do you coordinate these, fundraisers, liver life walks?
Yes, so as the event manager, we do a ton of fundraisers throughout the year. We have some large ones like the Liver Life Walk. We also have some small ones throughout the year to raise funds for our mission, so we can provide those educational programs.
And just looking through here, there's a couple Liver Life Walks coming up.
Yes, there are.
Very quickly. I mean, the first one is Sunday, September 22nd.
Yes,
That's going to be in Hartford.
Yep.
Whereabouts in Hartford? Do we have a starting?
Yes, the event will be at Rensselaer Field in East Hartford.
Okay.
So the walk is a 5K around Rensselaer Field. It's 3 loops around. So it's a really fun event. It's a great time. We have live music, lunch, balloon animals, face painting. So the families are always welcome to come.
And you can register at liverfoundation.org?
liverfoundation.org/walk Hartford.
Okay. Or it's also /walk Fairfield
County.
Or Fairfield County,
Yep.
which is on Sunday, September 29th.
Correct.
Is it going to be in Fairfield?
It's It's actually in Stamford. It's the Fairfield County Walk. It's at the new Harbor Point area in Stamford, Connecticut, right on the water. So their walk is right along the boardwalk. So it's a beautiful site.
And just to give people starting times, on September 22nd, looks like the registration's at 8 a.m. Start time is 10 a.m. How long is the walk typically? It's a 5K.
It's a 5K. It usually takes people between an hour and a half, and then directly after there's lunch, and the day is typically over around 12:30. People go home.
Typically, it would take me 5 hours for a 5K, but now I know Ed McCarver, who's a very avid runner out there, can probably do a 5K in 5 minutes.
Oh man.
Yeah, and you're welcome, Ed. I can hear him out there saying thank you.
Good job, Ed.
Yeah. Now, September 29th, the registration starts at 9 a.m. and then it starts at 11 a.m.
A little later down that way.
Also a 5K.
Yes.
I take it, okay. Now, some numbers that we had here. Last year, American Liver Foundation raised approximately $200,000 between both walks?
Correct, yeah, a little over $200,000.
Was it in the same, last year, same spots, or did you guys have it in different locations?
Same locations. We've been at Rensselaer Field for quite a while. This is our 13th walk that we've done annually at Rensselaer Field. And then for the Fairfield County walk, this is our 4th year.
Rensselaer Field is where UConn men play football.
Yep,
I
that's
believe,
the big football stadium. So there's always a ton going on, and so we always get a lot of people every year. It seems to grow and grow, which is great to see.
Now, Kristen, let's talk a little bit about some statistics and numbers. We were going over this. Currently in Connecticut, and I know this number seemed low to you, it also seems low to me, but it is, I guess, a good thing. There's currently 200 people in Connecticut awaiting a liver transplant.
Correct.
So they're on a list, I assume, waiting for a donor. In your experience, or from what you know, have people been? I mean, is there a waiting time? Is there a waiting period, or is it kind of hard to say?
It's hard to say. It completely depends. The problem is we don't have the organs. People are not donating. So if you have a family member or a friend who is willing to donate an organ for you, your chances of waiting are not as long as somebody who maybe doesn't have as many friends and family who are willing to step up or aren't the same match. They keep trying and trying, friends and family, but they can't find a match. So that's when it's relying on people who, the general public to be a donor. And the interesting thing about the liver as an organ is that it's regenerative. So you could have a live donor donate a piece of their liver and it would then grow back.
Oh.
So.
Like a starfish.
So that's exactly like a starfish.
I never knew that. Currently, I was going to say a statistic, and I was told in my earpiece we have a caller. So currently we have a caller. Let's get to that, and then we'll get back to some more numbers here.
Okay.
Good evening, caller. You're live on the Open Mic Show with special guest Kristen Link.
Yes, Ed from Wallingford. Second time, long time. How are you?
Good, Ed. How are you?
Good. Let me just say a disclaimer. If I could do a 5K in 5 minutes, I'd be on the Kenyan national team. I'd be running up in Boston.
Yeah. Something tells me, Ed, from your accent, you're not from Kenya.
No. But 5K is 3.1 miles, and it's in the running community. A 5K is more important than my 401k. So, I have a couple of questions for Kristen, if I could.
Sure, go ahead.
What are the symptoms? How do you know if you have a liver problem? Are there any sort of symptoms that that one would have?
Sure. There's a lot of different symptoms that you could have. Some of the major ones are jaundice. In your skin is yellow and your eyes are yellow. Abdominal pains. Some people with some of the diseases you may not have a rash, but you would be very itchy all over your skin. And then of course there's fatigue and all of those symptoms, those normal symptoms that come with a lot of those diseases. So,
does it affect any sort of age group? Is it something that strikes along all age groups, or is there one primarily?
All age groups.
More than others?
There are babies who have had transplants, by the time they're 2 years old, even younger, who are born with liver disease, and then all the way up until there's no discrimination of age.
Okay. One more for me, if I may, Michael.
Sure.
What's the best way to prevent having sort of liver problem? Is it diet and exercise, or avoiding anything? What's a good lifestyle habit to avoid getting any sort of liver trouble?
You have it right, Ed. It's really just living a healthy lifestyle by eating right. One of the main reasons for a liver transplant that's increasing is fatty liver disease, which has become a huge issue, which is brought on by obesity. So eating right, taking your medications correctly. With hepatitis C, it's very important to use sterile needles. So those are all just living and watching your diet.
Okay. All right. That's all for me. Enjoying the program, and I'll see you at the next 5K, Kristen.
All right. Thanks, Ed. Maybe I'll try and race you.
Thank you, Ed. Take care. Now, I guess the more common thing people think about when it comes to liver and liver disease is alcohol.
Of course.
Obviously anything too excessive can cause damage. Do you guys have any statistics as to liver disease is brought on by alcohol or acetaminophen or Tylenol, which
right,
or is it kind of just random things that bring it on?
There are statistics on how much of liver disease is caused by alcohol. I know it's not very much.
Oh, really?
But I don't know the statistics off the top of my head. But
okay.
I do know, that is one of the misconceptions that is a large part of our job, is to make people realize that liver disease does not just affect people who drink too much. And
right.
As my job, a lot of people, when I tell them I work for the American Liver Foundation, they say, oh, and one of the first things they say is about alcohol and alcohol abuse, and that is not the case. So.
Right, because obviously a glass of red wine has been known to be beneficial, and even occasional beer.
But of course, everything in moderation.
Right. Now, as I was saying before Ed called, currently the statistics have it that 1 in 10 Americans have liver disease. So
that's correct. That's
30
about
million
30
Americans.
million.
That is really a large number, a big number. 30 million Americans, and out of those 30 million Americans, like we said, we don't know what is the percent is caused by this or by that. But what kind of educational resources does American Liver Foundation provide to educate people about liver disease? Because I didn't know that.
We have 4 educational programs. They're all free, and we present them to anyone in the state of Connecticut. We have a program manager, Donna, who she goes out to all of the schools in Connecticut, mainly middle school and high school, and teaches about a healthy liver, and really at the basic level of what liver disease is and how you can prevent it by healthy diet, exercise. They talk a lot about tattoos and alcohol abuse. So that's a large program that we do throughout the school year. And then other programs that we have a hepatitis C focused educational program that is brought to all over the state. Mainly we hit rehab centers for the drug use portion.
Right.
We're also going into some prisons recently to educate on hepatitis C. We also just have an adult specific Liver Matters, it's called. It's an educational program for adults on how to keep your liver healthy. So those are the main educational programs, all free. So if you have a group that you are interested in getting some liver facts presented, you can always contact us.
Now, Kristen, can people go on liverfoundation.org to find out about these educational programs?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
and our website is a great resource with all different kinds of information on every liver disease possible. You can just type it in, whatever you're looking for, and there'll be a ton of information. You can also request information, and we can send you brochures and magazines on that specific disease. we also have a helpline that you can call at any time, and someone will answer and help answer your questions.
And also, if I may give out the number here to the office.
Of course.
The 234 number. If people would call in, I guess, with questions, maybe if they want to donate,
Absolutely.
find out about upcoming events, it would be 203-234-2022. And you can certainly call them or go on liverfoundation.org. Now, where would you say the money goes that you, or American Liver Foundation, gets as an organization?
Most of our money does go to the educational programs that we present around the state, and then it also goes to research. We do have some doctors in the Connecticut area who we provide funds for research so they can work on finding new treatments and cures for liver disease. Our other money goes to our patient and caregiver support services. So anybody who calls in with questions and would like some additional materials, we provide those.
Okay.
We also provide educational programs for anybody on our MAC, which is the Medical Advisory Committee in Connecticut. So about 4 times a year, we provide educational presentations throughout the state of Connecticut to all of our doctors to talk about the latest and greatest in liver disease research. So that's where our funds go.
Besides donations, fundraising, etc., what other avenues does money come to American Liver Foundation? Is it grants?
Yes, we write a lot of educational grants to provide money for our educational programs. We also receive a certain amount of memorials and other ways that we raise funds just through donations, people who would like to donate throughout the year.
And one thing we talked about the upcoming Liver Life Walks. Now, the ING Hartford Marathon in October.
Yes,
What's
Ed,
going
if you're
on
still
with that?
listening.
Yeah, well, might be past his bedtime now, but no, go ahead.
Yes, we are participating. This is our first year to participate in the ING Hartford Marathon. It's a 5K, a half marathon, or a full marathon. And if you want to sign up to be a part of the American Liver Foundation team, there's no fundraising minimum. You can just sign up with us, pay your registration fee, and you can raise money for us, and then you can walk with us or run with us at the marathon. We will have a tent and our own personal porta potties and some food, and everyone will meet up together and then run whichever race you're doing. So it should be fun. We're excited about it.
Do you know the date in October?
Yes, it's October 12th, Saturday, October 12th.
Oh, yeah.
And we have about 25 people on the team so far, so it should be a good group.
I know the date very well. I'm going to actually take my son to Providence that day for a WWE birthday event.
Oh, boy.
So I'm going to be going by Hartford. Maybe I can stop for the marathon.
There's some traffic.
Yeah. Now, also these Liver Life Walks, as you were saying, people can form like teams where they raise their own money through their, fundraising efforts, and then they donate it to the American Liver Foundation. So, I mean, obviously the goal is to exceed or surpass last year's 200,000, 210.
Yeah, and there is no registration fee. Anyone can sign up to walk, and then people just ask for donations, and then the walk is more of a celebration of those fundraising efforts. So it's a really fun day. People come early and tailgate and bring grills and cook eggs and donuts and all that good stuff in the morning, and then and then we go for the walk. So
this number, the 120,000 on organ transplants, just remind or talk about it a little bit with the viewers. What 120,000 is?
120,000 is the people who are on the waiting list currently for an organ in the U.S.
In the U.S., okay.
Yes, and although that number may not seem so high, there's a lot of other people who are on the list. However, they don't meet certain criteria to be an actual active waiting list member, if that makes sense. There's certain things that vary between when you're ready for an actual organ, and there's 120,000 people waiting for an organ right now, and the problem is we don't have the organs to give, so a lot of people are waiting. And
it's kind of we're in 2013, and it seems kind of weird, but I think there's a lot of people out there that maybe don't know about becoming an organ donor. on your license,
Yes.
you know, if you were to pass away suddenly. You know, I know I'm an organ donor, and I would have never thought of it until my sister brought it up to me like 12 years ago. And but it's probably something that more people should look into. I mean, you know, if you can donate an organ after you pass, you can certainly help others that are on these lists.
Yeah, exactly. You can
I mean, there's really no need to bring the
save
organs
lives.
with you. You know,
Right.
I mean, you
Right.
don't really need to have a liver in heaven, I guess.
Right.
So no, that's something that, you know, now of course there's religious people or observations that people are, you know, some might not do it, but I think there's a majority of people just don't think about, well, maybe I should be an organ donor.
Right.
And it's something
A
you
lot
should
of
look
people
into.
just don't, you know, at the DMV, it's a very small check the box, and
Right.
if you don't check it, then you're not an organ donor. So it's really important to look on your license and see if you have checked off to be an organ donor. And like you said, there are people who have different views, which everyone understands, but
Right. I just think if you could get, you know, maybe even if it was 1 out of 10 people to
Yeah.
do it, it would certainly help with these numbers. And, you know, even in Connecticut, I mean, 200 people waiting for a liver transplant. I mean, there's 200 people that if they all obviously were donors, then maybe,
Right.
you know,
there wouldn't be that wait.
wouldn't be that wait, right? So
Right.
something to certainly look into, you know, at the very least. We just have about 3 minutes left, believe it or not. We're running out of time, but I want to give the viewers out there just a couple more, you know, the dates and information. Again, if you want more information and you want to go online, it's liverfoundation.org. Phone number to call would be 203-234-2022. And then, as Kristen was mentioning, the ING Hartford Marathon, Saturday, October 12th. Again, where is that taking place?
That's right in Hartford. Yeah, right downtown. Yep.
Okay. Just look for all the runners. Yeah. And that probably starts at what, 9, 10 o'clock?
I believe it's earlier than that. There's
Oh,
different
really?
times. There's waves of different times, and I can't remember, depending on which race you're doing.
Okay.
So.
And then sooner, you know, before that, we have the upcoming Liver Life Walks. One Sunday, September 22nd at Rensselaer Field in East Hartford.
Correct.
And then Sunday, September 29th in Stamford. Let me look again at the address here, or the, there we go, the Commons Park, Harbor Point, 100 Washington Boulevard in Stamford. So these obviously will be on the website. If you are interested, you know, maybe someone out there is watching, they want to form a team of people, get some donations going and fundraising and participate with this.
That'd be great.
Any closing comments you want to say, or before we leave?
Thank you so much for having me on, and
Sure.
I hope everyone realizes how important the American Liver Foundation and all of the nonprofit, you know, Donate Life is also a big partner of ours. So, you know, we would love for everyone to contribute or participate in any way you can.
Great. I appreciate you coming on, Kristen.
Thank you,
Thank you
Mike.
very much.
Thank you very much.
Good luck with everything. And
Thank you.
Real quick, I want to thank the viewers, callers for calling in. Appreciate it. I want to thank Nick and Mike in the back control room for another trouble-free show. Thank Kristen for coming on. And until next Wednesday night, ladies and gentlemen, at 8 o'clock, I'm your host, Michael Cuomo. I will see you then. Good night, everyone.